Thank you for joining me. This is the fifth lockdown story for Sporting Chance that I've been doing. I've been loving every one of them. I've tried to keep connected to the organisations, the stakeholders that we've got. RFL, Rugby Football League. We've just signed a new contract with the snooker, and just trying to reach out to players and get their life story, what happened to them, the connection really with Sporting Chance, and how they're coping with lockdown. So, without any more of rubbish from me, over to you, Kevin. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing okay. I think overall I'm coping quite well with the lockdown period. I've been quite really busy with my uni course, so that has been a good for me to be able to just focus on that and not really think about what's going on out there, and also being able to spend some quality time with my little boy have been something amazing. For example, I can see his French is coming out really strongly, so something I'm really pleased about, because we are usually really busy when I do have him. I have him after nursery, so I only have him for 3-4 hours, and after I have to put him to bed. So, but now I had him full days with him, so it was great, and otherwise try to stay as fit as possible. So when the season will restart, I won't be too rusty.
How old's your boy?
He's 4 on Friday.
Fantastic. And you say he's speaking French, you're teaching him?
Yeah. So my ex-partner, she's English, but he is born in England. Right. And since he's born, I never spoken to him in English. I really wanted him to feel connected with his French roots. So he was doing really well before that, but I can really see the difference now. Like, he always asks me, Papa, how to say that in French? It really makes difference that his mom is English and me I'm French, and him is both, and he's really showing interest. And him speaking French is it just add a special link between him and me.
And how did you come across Sporting Chance? What made you to reach out to the organisation? What was happening? So
I knew about Sporting Chance before I got to be involved with Sporting Chance. Few times we had some presenter coming and talking about lots of different subjects about what Sporting Chance can offer, and if we need, we can reach out there. So I knew about them, but really when I go to get involved with the Sporting Chance, it was in 2016. It was quite really bad season. I was at Larroyer at the time, and so I got involved because that year we got relegated, and following that I lost my contract. So the RFL got in touch with me, so they sent me a QA woman who came trying to see what I could do if I wasn't playing with the again. And I had, I don't remember his name at the time, he worked for Sporting Chance, came to visit me and offer me support. So I think at the time I really needed it, but I was a bit in denial. If I look back, I think during that year, it started quite bad, because during pre-season, during the first friendly game, I got injured for 6 months. And I didn't cope very well with the situation. I was 26 at the time, and it was my first serious injury. And I felt, really didn't cope really well. At the time, my ex-partner was pregnant as well, so she had to a massive thing. She had to look after me, shower me, stuff like that, and it's something I didn't cope very well. Then at the time, obviously, your phone doesn't ring that much. They don't really hear much from people, so that was a session really hard to live. And during that year, the team wasn't performing. I think after 3 or 4 games, the coach been sacked. So like it was like a new manager, new coach came in. Then when I came back from injury in June, I think end of May or June, I felt like I wasn't really part of the plan anymore. So I was starting like, to have this thought into my head, like really, I've never been that confident, but I started to feel really, really low, like what was going on. I had 2 good years before that, and now I feel like I've never done anything again. And yeah, so it happened what happened. At the end of the season, we got relegated, and my contract been taken off, and that happened literally 2 or 3 days after I just bought my first home. So I was like, I was working from after career and putting stuff in place. So 3 days after, 2 or 3 days after that, I didn't have any incomes anymore. So I remember coming back from that meeting, going back home and sat down in the stairs and in this like brand new house. My partner at the time came over trying to ask me what's going on, and I just couldn't speak. I was just speechless. I just couldn't believe what was happening really. And from that, I think the first week it happened, I would just my partner would leave for work, and I would just sat in the stairs and just stay there, and I can just like rethinking everything that happening. And it was really a situation where I felt really lonely, ashamed as well, because I was seeing most of the players of the current squad were getting re-signed. So I was a bit like, is it my fault? Even if I didn't play that much that year, but loads of things going into my head. And the other hand, I had my agent who wasn't really supportive. So every time I had to call him, he was like, "Oh, nobody wants you." I called so. So that's a really hard word to hear. But despite that, I came back to France to play for France, which was really refreshing. And we prepared the World Cup was coming the year after, so the coach was really like supportive, like meaning like he needs me and he believe I'll fund the club and etc. So I kind of came back in England after this test match against England. We were like refreshed, but quickly the situation just come back and just trigger some old issue I had, but because all this year I always gave everything for rugby, and I remember at the time I felt like rugby turned his back on me, if that makes sense, or abandoned me. That triggered like all the symptoms I already had. Because if I'm honest, I would say I always suffer with mental health symptoms when I was back a child. For example, like this feeling of being abandoned, like when, for example, at the age of 6, I've been taken away from social service to live in like house for kids. And I remember at the time I felt abandoned by my parents because my little sister, she got to stay with my parents. So I think this is how it started, and I carried this. But the only area of my life where I felt good, I felt valued, it was a rugby really. And I think rugby, like I said, really raised me and teach me lots of good value in life, but never fulfilled this need of to be loved and recognized. So when that happened, I felt like because me becoming a professional athlete, it was a dream, and wrongly I thought that the day I would become professional and I would be on TV and etc., I would finally become someone. And so when that's been taken away, I was just really devastated. I was like, what am I going to do now? I don't have any qualification. I've got a mortgage to pay. I've got family to provide for. So it was really complicated. And so I stayed few months with old clubs. Then finally, after training with the rival of the city, I go to sign for Castleford. So I thought, okay, this is a restart, and something again happened. Like, for example, I lost my little sister. She took her own life, and that has been something really hard to deal with as well, because I remember at the time when I felt really when it happened, I really bad and abandoned. I had some like bad for like a feeling that I wanted to disappear because I was that feeling ashamed and in pain really. and that happened to my sister. I feel like it was something was trying to punish me for having those four, and I feel really guilty because I feel like I haven't been good as a big brother and been there for my little sister and been able to acknowledge that she needed help. So that was again something that was really hard to cope with, and after finally at the end of this year, I didn't been picked to play the World Cup, which I really thought I would be playing my second World Cup, and it didn't happen, and that's something as well. I've been really hard to take, but all this month, I've been working with Craig from Sporting Chance, like therapy, and it really this therapy at the time. Now, when I look back, it didn't work because I wasn't mentally into it, and I think to get the most of this support, it needs to come from you first. You need to really want to be to work on yourself to overcome those challenges. And me at the time, I was just convinced that I was okay. I just wanted to play rugby, and I didn't really believe in this. And it was just my ex-partner at the time. During that time, I've been amazing. She has been a massive rock for me. She's been there all the way through, and she was keep telling me, "You need help. You need to do therapy." But I didn't take it seriously. Then after in the beginning of the following season in 2018, I stopped the therapy, and I signed for a new team, and I thought that was a new start, fresh start, and the season didn't go well again, and again it just triggered all this emotion I had before, and this has leading that, for example, I betrayed the confidence of my partner, which leading after she left me for this reason, and also the fact living with someone who's depressed can be really complicated because I wasn't really good to live with at the minute. I could be really, really hard on her, really hard on people that want to help me. And when that happened, it was around January 2019, and I was starting to have like some panic attack, like really feel like some on the morning, really like short breathing, like really pain on my chest, and because unconsciously I felt like I couldn't live without my ex-partner, that I wouldn't be able to achieve anything because she's been so supportive and helped me in so many things from the day I met her, that I was convinced I wouldn't be able to cope. And I remember that day I was just really panicking and anxious, and I called back Greg and I said, "Now I need help. I want to. I had enough to be in pain. I want to feel better." And I think that has been the first step for me to overcome this challenging and this depression that was like eating me from inside. And from this day, maybe the following day, I meet up with him and I gave everything in this therapy. So, for example, like at first, it really helped me to look at the roots of his mental health issue I was suffering from, and I know this come from my childhood. Like I said before, I grew up in the social service houses where I missed from attention from my dad or from my mom. I don't remember like my mom and dad telling me they love me or giving some kind of attention and that. And looking back, it was painful to go back to this bad memory, but it really helped me to understand why I had this need of constantly recognition, attention, also being hard on people, being hard on myself. It all come from that, and also like this therapy helped me to stop living in the past, because that's a big thing, is always living the past. So for example, like even when I signed it with a new team, I was like, oh yeah, but I was earning more money, or I was playing at a better level, or I wasn't this, I wasn't that, and that can be really energy consuming and really affect your brain. So this therapy helped me to focus on good things I've achieved, like look at what I achieved, and also what I've got good in my life. So, for example, my son, which is something that I'm really grateful for, because he really helped me to keep the head above the water and give me a purpose. But also by having this experience of losing my contract, starting education. So, for example, this woman from the RFL, Julie, have been amazing with me, which have been hard work for her, because at first I was like, I don't want to hear about education, I just want to play rugby. But she was really honest and like, but you might never play rugby ever again, so what are you going to do? So after a few meetings with her, she asked me to consider going to university, which I laughed at first, because I've always been told I wasn't an academic person, and I wasn't really good at school, and obviously learning in English, which isn't my first language, I wasn't sure about. But finally I go for it, and I gave everything, and it's going very well. So the therapy helped me to realize that I've got something good going on in my life, and I've got something to look forward for, and plan ahead. So yeah, and now I wouldn't say I'm 100% over this, but I try to look things differently, and all the time put in practice what I worked on during this therapy. Really.
Kevin, that is magnificent. I love that. I love you. I could listen to you all day. The feelings are amazing, and you've done a lot of work on yourself, as have I. 24 years now in therapy, and it's I don't know what I'll do without it, to be honest with you. And like you, I had to go back, and we say in the rooms, uncover, discover, discard. You bring this stuff up, you identify it, and then you have to let it go. And there was so much rejection in there. There was loneliness and isolation and abandonment, and the stuff around your sister is enormous, and it's immense, and it's all that blame, that guilt, all those, the process. It sounded like, and it has done for me, that therapy's it saved my life. It's been able to, I've opened my mouth and got all this stuff out and been able to let it all go. But back in the day, what I used to do is drink on it, and I got hooked to alcohol, and that became my drug of choice. And it wasn't until I actually could put the alcohol down, and I went to AA meetings, and it kind of sorted out my addictions. Then I started to look at life stuff, and very much you're talking life stuff here, and Sporting Chance. I'm really proud that they have, and Craig he's a special man, and just to have the ability just to listen. I do find that very difficult, but to listen to your stuff, to be able to maybe share back and saying, look, injury. I really heard about injury. Every time I was injured, I got smashed out of my head. You know what I mean? And there was handling that. 14. I got thrown out the England soccer team, England football team, under schoolboy team, for bad behaviour. There was a little bit of a train incident going up to the training camp. It wasn't actually my fault, but it's irrelevant. They thought it was my fault and got rid of me. And the rejection of that, I went, and because I can't vocalise any of this stuff, and I haven't got no one around me, none of my team, none of my teammates, or nothing, that kind of interaction. My family weren't a family that were, we weren't brought up to sit around the table and talk about my panic attack that I had at school. You know what I mean? We didn't have the ability to do that. I don't blame them. It's just the way that they were. And but to actually kind of share it in a safe place in therapy, it's your stuff. I share stuff today that 24 years ago I thought I'd take to my grave. And I thought I'd never talk about that one. I'll never talk about that one. And we say you're only sick as your secrets. And if you can get all that up, and it's really great. And I know Sporting Chance also do therapy in different languages, but you have grasped the language emotionally, if you know what I mean. So to be able to speak emotions in a foreign, in a different language, your second tongue, is quite incredible as well. It's and we got all these tools, and I'll wrap it up here because I do talk too much, but all those tools, we've got an opportunity to go to university. I went to university, I went to Brunel after I finished my career to prepare for the next stage, because it does sound like to me that, it's very similar for me. I know how to get drunk and I had to play football, but I didn't know who I was. So as soon as you took the drug away and you took the football away, I was like, who am I? What am I going to deal with this? But if we can prepare, not plan, but prepare for the future, not plan the results. But if you can get some kind of, and it sounds like you've got loads of emotional and mental tools now to be able to handle the transition to the next life, as it were. We're sportsmen, we're pretty unique that we've got a limited lifespan on our careers. If we can actually be emotionally and mentally able to deal with that. In my experience, I played for 6 years clean and sober and with a clear mind and a loving heart, and I didn't take, none of these kind of anger or all my emotions onto the pitch. I went on there, focused and with love, and it's pretty much amazing, mate. Listen, I really loved that. I thought it was brilliant. I don't want to spoil any more by talking about lockdown and stuff, but if you've got anything else, come on back.
No, it's good, and also like this therapy was good to stop feeling ashamed to have those feelings, and also for a long time I thought that mental health symptom was something that was genetic, because me, I know my both mom and dad got them own mental health problem. They both have tried to take their own life, and I had to deal with when I was all during my teenager years. And I really thought that was something in my genetic. And now with this therapy, like I really try to become a better version of myself. And like you said, like it really helped me to see who I am. And now I try to be seek less for this attention, to be loved, but also I'm doing this to show my son like something that like I'm strong and I'm fighting and I'm not giving up, and I'm not genetic. I don't want to pass this into him, and I want maybe use my experience to try to guide him to not do the same mistake or take things for granted. Sometimes that's the mistake we make, and which after when those things are taken away, it's so hard to deal with.
Fantastic, Kevin. We stop the cycle, don't we? We don't pass it on. All our issues, all our stuff, we've got a chance. My family had it and needs family behind. My grandfather was a complete lunatic, alcoholic, and we got a chance to stop. We put, just by opening up the mouth, talking about our thoughts and feelings, we've got an opportunity to say, right, we don't have to pass our sickness on, as it were.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, definitely.
God bless you, Kevin.